Well, this looks kind of like a big mess, doesn't it? Actually, it is. This is Longevity Spinach. It was given to me by a neighbor. Kind of neglected, overgrown, but I think I can do something with this. I'm going to give it a very hard prune, make lots of cuttings. Come join me. Let's learn about Longevity Spinach. Hey, it's Elise. I'm glad you stopped by. Longevity spinach is edible, medicinal, ornamental. And if you go online, you're just going to find pages of great benefits. Now, this is the green version of Longevity spinach. And I say it that way because some folks consider the Okanawa spinach, which is purple under the leaves, the same plant. Now, they are in the same genus, but they are a different variety. They are both in the genus Gynora, but different species. And I'll put the names up on the screen for you. They are both considered a hot weather spinach, a summer spinach, a survivalist spinach. They both grow very, very easy. So, Longevity spinach is the plants I'm working on today. Let me move the camera a little closer here. Some of these stems are 5 and 6 feet long, and it is just beginning to bloom out, which is a shame. I would have liked to have seen the blooms. Neglected, not taken care of at all, just allowed to roam on its own. Not a true spinach. Native to Asia. But it grows extremely well in warm weather. Now, if you're in a cooler location, you can grow it in containers and overwinter it. The first thing that I am going to do is come in and do a very hard prune, because I want to save the roots. It should come back from the root ball. So I'm going to try and get these separated some. And some of these big, long branches are broken off. So I have room to work, and I'm just going to do one at a time. It propagates extremely easy from cuttings. So, some of these are already broken all off. I'm just going to go in, do a hard prune. Okay. Clean this up. If it needs more soil, I'll add more soil. It's got new growth coming. Put it more in the middle, snug it down. I will add just a little more soil to that. Put my label in. This is all I'm going to do to this. I'll probably put it in my little plant spa with a little Epsom salts and water, because it's been neglected for a very long time and it is very stressed. Well, I just saw the root system. So actually, and the pot's broke. I'm going to take this out and repot it. The roots aren't gnarled, so they should pull out okay. If the roots are gnarled together, tied together, you might have to cut that bottom root. So, let's see if I can just gently pull it out. Okay. This is broken all up. Nice root system. So this is going to come back without a problem. I can use the same dirt. I don't see any insects or anything in here. Spread the roots out as much as possible. I'm going to hold the crown up between my fingers and go ahead and finish filling it. Make sure all of your roots are underneath the soil. Okay, much better. In a couple of months, this is going to flush all out and just be gorgeous. We're coming out of winter right now. We're going into nice warm weather. This is a hot weather crop. Not related to true spinach, but it is edible. And you eat it basically the same way. Please do your own research on edible and medicinal properties of this or any plant. But basically what my research says is you can use it in stir-fries, soups, stews, salads. You can eat it raw or you can eat it cooked. Most sites suggested you do lightly cook it, steam it, stir-fry it, because the plant itself has oxalates in it, just like true spinach. And so if you are prone to have an issue with oxalates, cooking it will get a lot of those oxalates out. And you still only want to eat it in limited amount. Even true spinach, you should, supposedly, from what I've read, you eat it in limited amounts. Okay, so I'm going to put a label on this now. I put just a little more dirt in it. It's going to go into my plant spa. There are lots of common names for this. And don't get it confused with the purple leaf version. They are very close cousins, but different varieties. You use them both the same way, and you can propagate them both the same way. Nice. Already it looks so much better. So let's see what we have here. So I'm going to start at the end and do tip cuttings. And from what I understand, sometimes you can just root the leaves. But since I've got so much material here, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to take these big leaves off. Leave a few leaves at the top to help with photosynthesis. And that's it. I'm going to go through this whole batch now and cut off everything that I think looks good. And I might do some mid-cuts also. I've gone through now the stems off of the one plant, this little plant. I cut them all basically the same size. There are some tip cuttings and there are some mid cuts. You can propagate longevity spinach from the bigger leaves. I don't need to do that. I have so much resource material here. It propagates extremely easy from cuttings. So that's what I'm going to do. Also, I'm going to water root some of it. Some of the little thinner branches, I'm just going to water root, or maybe a few of all different sizes. If you're water rooting any plant, just some basics to remember. Don't put it in direct hot sun. Make sure you don't have any foliage underneath the water because that will rot and tend to make a mess. Keep your water clean and pick off any new growth that has buds, flowers, fruit, anything like that on. You don't want lots of energy going to a bud. You want all the energy to go to the root system. So I have quite a few here. And I have 2 more plants to go through. If you cannot, that one's a little small, it's falling down in it. If you cannot get all of your cuttings stuck, which means just putting in your container, put them in water to hold them. You don't want your cuttings to dehydrate. That's one of the problems with lots of cuttings. They dehydrate. So that's it. Now, I'll put a label on this, or just write right on top of it what this is. And I'll put a few more in because, like I said, I have 2 more pots to do. I'm going to have plenty of a resource material. And I'm just going to start off in these little cups. Now, they have lots of drainage holes. And I'm going to put 2 or 3 in each one. When I cut my long stems apart, I always get in the habit of cutting at a slant You don't have to do that. It's just my habit. And you want to cut under a node. And a node is that little knobby thing where a leaf was or will be. That's your best bet of getting roots. Doesn't work that way on all plants, but on most plants. Again, if you can leave a little leaf material, that's good. So I'm going to put, I don't know, 4 in here. Some of them are mid-cuts with no leaves at all. They might make it or they might not. This particular type of plant, the Longevity Spinach, the Okanawa Spinach, they make a beautiful container plants. And you want your container really, really full. So put numerous little plants in each container. I can come back here and write right on here what this is. I really like using these little cups. They are recyclable. I've used them for several seasons. So I just take my rub-a-dub pen, I come in, I write the name, I can put the date. When this is finished, when I need to up-pot it, or anyway, I have the cup free, I can just mark through it, turn it around, write something new on it. And they work really, really well. Doesn't take long. I'm not using rooting hormone. Now see, this one is really soft. I'm going to water root that. Tip cuttings do work best, but you want your tip cuttings to have a little structure to them and not all floppy. These will go in indirect light. I'll put them in my plant spa first, give them a little Epsom salts to help with the shock. Then they're going to go warm place with indirect light. Do all different sizes, do all different diameters. You can do all different kind of heights. I kind of make mine, if I can, just about the same height. But you know, sometimes it depends upon the plant itself, what your actual cuttings are going to look like. You can do cuttings from a couple of inches up to a cutting a couple of feet. Oops. So you just have to look at your plant. And the more cuttings you do, the more experience you get. You'll be able to look at a cutting right away and tell exactly what you need to do. Wow. Longevity spinach. It tastes good. If you overcook it, it will get a little slimy. If you're doing mid-cuts, make sure you've laid all your cuttings down in the same direction so that you know where your top and bottom is, because sometimes it is really hard to tell. That's it. I'm going to finish all this up. I'll come back and let you know what I ended up with when I get them all done, because it is going to take a little while. I'll probably have to take a break in between. And I might just go ahead and give some of the pieces away if I can find any neighbors who might want it. And if some of them don't look very good, I might not use them. I can afford to be a little persnickety about it because I have so much resource material. Now I'm going to put these great big ones in the water too. I want to see how these great big ones root. I'm going to take that little bit of foliage off. I don't want foliage down in my water. Okay. So that's it. All I have to do now is either put a label in or write on them what they are, water them very, very well, put them in indirect light, and sit back and wait for my gorgeous longevity spinach to grow. Well, I finished up the longevity cuttings, and I repotted the other 2 mother plants. Looks a lot different, doesn't it? I have to admit, though, I did give some of the stems away. Didn't take me as long then. All right, we went from this jumbled up pile of plants that was just rampant. I mean, some of those stems were 4, 5, and 6 feet long, where the plants had never been pinched back, never been taken care of, and they just grew. That's what plants do. So I repotted the 3 mother plants, and I went through my stack of cuttings. I ended up with 10 of the 18-ounce size cups. I put 4 cuttings in each cup. I ended up with 13 cuttings in my water bath. If you're new to doing water rooting, there are many, many, many plants that will water root. Just make sure you have nice clean water, a clean bottle or jar, whatever you're using. Keep them in indirect light, not bright sun. Don't let any of the foliage stay down underneath the water, because that will rot. You want to make sure that you have pinched off all of your buds, all of your flowers, fruit, and that applies to any cutting. You don't want the energy of the cutting going to support a bloom. You want the energy to support your root growth. Now, it is a good idea if you can leave a couple of little leaves on top of your cuttings. They help bring in photosynthesis, which helps bring in food and sugars and energy. I went back and I added soil to all of the pots. And then I got my mist out, my garden hose, and turned the nozzle to mist, and I misted for a very long time. And I'll be misting again in just a few minutes. That helped all the extra soil to settle in and give the cuttings a little more stability. When I do cuttings, I actually like to wet all my soil first, so that when I put the cutting in, it's a little more stable. And when I have lots of cuttings, like I did with this, I kind of do an assembly line. I'll get my containers of soil ready, and then I'll start doing the actual cuttings. Now, the size of your cutting is actually dependent upon the type of plant you have and how much plant material you have to work with. The more plants that you do, the easier it's going to get, and you'll be able to just zoom through cuttings in no time at all. Now, from last night, they are wilting a little bit. That's fine. That's natural. Some of them might even fall off. That's natural too. Just keep them in indirect light. Keep them really well misted. If you have a mist set up, oh, that would be great. I don't have one. But I just use my garden hose and I turn the nozzle on mist, and it works fine. The older plants will be great. The water root, they'll be fine. I have a container I set all my water jars in that holds them secure. That's it. I will come back in about a week and start giving them some light diluted liquid fertilizer. Whatever I happen to have made and on hand at that time, because we make all our own fertilizers. A green tea, vermicompost tea, anything like that. Just a little bit to help support them. Now, I only put one label in because all of these cups are going to stay in this flat. And so there was no need to make labels for every single cup. That's it. Don't be intimidated. Cuttings are actually very easy. Till I talk to you again, have a fantastic day.